Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to our bi-monthly Reparations Commission meeting. This meeting happens on Zoom. It's really reserved for sort of internal planning and updates to the full commission from our working groups. Just as a note to those who are watching, we have 4 members of the 8 in attendance, and so we do not have quorum, but we will go through just some general updates on our agenda today. Yeah, so present we have myself, I'm Kayla Reed, Chair, Dr. Will Ross, Vice Chair, Delisha George, Secretary, and William Foster, General Member. For our agenda, we had a few things that we wanted to discuss. One was some working group updates, so where we are on the community engagement working group and where we are on the report working group. We wanted to discuss meetings, but as I stated earlier, we don't have quorum, so we will talk about March, but then hold off on selecting dates for post-March meetings until we have fuller representation from the commission. We'll take any public comments if there are some, and then we'll close out. Does that sound good to everyone? Any adjustments to the agenda?
Sounds good.
Good.
Great. Well, let's start with updates. So, Delisha, do you want to give an update on the community engagement working group and where you all are?
So the community engagement group, we've been able to connect a couple of times, but not as the full group. So we had a call last week, but what we have established is finding those that have been attending meetings, as well as those that we are aware of their stories relating to the 6th area. We've identified a few, but we also will be reaching out to them to get the okay from them to share their story and to get a little bit more of their story. And we've also connected with a few reparations commissions in other cities and task force and committees to make some connections there for us as a whole. Our commission, their commission, and different groups working towards the efforts. So our work is continuing. The question did come up about how we would record. So the technicality around recording. So that'll be a fuller meeting discussion perhaps when the whole commission is here. But yes, that is how we are progressing at this time.
William, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. And then I can provide an update on the report working group. I'm also just taking notes to send out to the full commission. So Dr. Ross, Professor Cunningham, and I have gotten back on schedule with our weekly meetings. February was a little hard, but we are back on schedule to meet. And we have worked to identify potential authors of the sections of the report that we presented on in the January reparations meeting. And this week, our goal is to draft an invitational letter to those potential authors and get that letter out by the end of the week. It's actually on me to draft the letter, so I'm a little behind, but I'll get that done this evening. And then our hope is to hear back by the end of the month on responses so that we can spend April and May and potentially some of June in draft timeline and revision timeline so that we are actually able to produce a working draft over the summer for community feedback ahead of the September extension date for the final report to be delivered to Mayor Jones. Dr. Ross, is there anything you wanted to add to that update?
Sure. Regarding the people I'm I'll be talking to after this goes out. I did have a conversation with Carol Camp Yakey. She's a good friend. And I just kind of offhand say, you know what, we're doing this report and I'd love for you to do housing. She said, oh, I want to do it.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
without any invitation going out, she has agreed to go out to the housing part. Now, regarding health, we had stated that we sent invitations to Maddie Davis, Daryl Hudson, myself, obviously. And I just realized we have to include Jason Purnell. I mean, that would be a major oversight given his work with the For Sake of All project. He's now at the John McDonald, the James McDonald Foundation. I have his email, so we'll be able to reach out to him. I also decided that we should add we talked about adding 2 people. We of course mentioned, so the health committee writing group is pretty much hopefully fixed, assuming that we get those responses from Maddie Davis, Daryl Hudson, and Jason Purnell. In addition to Walter Johnson and Jeff Ward, we mentioned, I thought we should add Mark Rank to the report, who given his focus on poverty and economic and just inequality. And we stated we should also add Adrian Davis, given her work. Also, she was someone who was actually considered for the commission, but she lived, she lives in the city, but I don't know what happened, she wasn't selected. But Adrian Davis would be a great person to add into the writing group.
Yeah, and just as like a note for, those who are watching, these are names sourced from the working group. They have not confirmed participation. And so just wanted to name that this is our ideation of, names. I think it's a really robust list. And also we'll share that with the Fuller Commission in the event that you all have additional thoughts or recommendations for people we should invite into the writing team.
So thus far, I mean, we're building the lists very well. And then I guess we'll have to start looking at it, the 6 sections, and make sure that we are inviting everyone who can work within all of the sections. We have one that's basically fill, the others we can then work on identifying other potential writers.
Yeah. So any questions for us about the report working group? Okay. Great. Well, then the next order of business actually was to focus in on scheduling for additional reparations meetings now that we have been granted the extension. But the March meeting for the commission members is March 25th at 6 p.m. We are back inside of the struggle of a location. So we are hoping that we can secure City Hall, and hopefully we can have that information secure by the end of this week. We're working with the city liaisons to the Reparations Commission on that. Delisha is spearheading, but the date is March 25th.
You said 25th, 25, 25.
25, yeah. That's correct, right? Delisha, it's a Monday?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe Dr. Ross won't be available. I think you said you would.
Actually, yeah, my out of town trip got canceled, so I will be here. I will be available.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay. And the other thing to note is that we don't have a potential speaker for March. And with that sort of being a week and a few days away, it may be that we actually use that meeting to provide additional updates and take in some more public comment, but also open for any thoughts around that.
I know we can't really vote on it because we don't have the whole commission, but I thought we were done with the speaker part for now as we work on crafting our report.
Yeah, that was my perception also.
Okay. Great. Then we'll focus the agenda on digging deep into working group updates and public comment. Does that sound right to everyone?
Yes, and at
Yes.
some point, we have to ask, how far do we go with public comments? Because, we just have to really now, at this point, reserve time for us, commission, to sit down and draft. We don't see, I don't see a need for us to go to public comments beyond another month or two. We have to just, which was our plan initially, to wrap up and leave 3 months for writing and drafting report. So we're gonna conclude by September, and we want to have something to submit to the public for review. That's August, June, July, June, which means that we probably could have another open meeting in April, and at that point, then we would start our own internal discussion writing. Or we can say May will be the last one. It's up to the commission.
Yeah, I agree that there has to be, we will need clarification from the city on, I mean, our meetings when we convene have to be public, but I think we're going to be workshopping recommendations, and focusing on sort of like putting together the report. I think we need clarification perhaps from one of our liaisons on, with the extension of the executive order beyond March, do we need to continue to have sort of public facing meetings? I'm just not sure on that. And so I think we would have to get clarification.
So we did talk about this. We stated, at the inception, we would have 3 months of just internal discussion. So no public meetings. That was our plan. So I think that should still be our plan.
Yeah, I just have to we have to, I'm mostly wondering about like the sunshine requirements of a commission. If those meetings still need to be, in person and like the sort of requirements of the executive order explicitly states we have to have monthly monthly public meetings. And since we have the extension, that wasn't really clarified if we needed to continue to do that or if we could spend that time really in our working groups producing the report, if that makes sense.
I'm not getting it, Kayla. I'm not following that. So we need 3 months to do the report, to actually sit back as a commission and talk and write about how we're going to do the report. That the plan was to do that internally. That was not to be a public session. That was not to be a public forum. So I don't know why we need to go back and request that, because we had already agreed early on. So it's going to hold true whether we had the extension or didn't have the extension. We would have those 3 months to sit back and really do the work. So I wouldn't add any calls for extension for the public report. I think that's something that we have already agreed upon. We can state for the record that this is going to be, and we can state when we're meeting. We can put that, we can post that the commission will be meeting for the sake of drafting a report, and we can make that public. But in terms of inviting the public in, that should be concluded either in March or April.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
I guess just to understand what you were trying to, I guess, are we trying to see if we're in compliance, like if we stop doing public meetings like with the ordinance? Or,
Yeah, I just, yeah, there's no, we got a written response that the extension was granted. And the only sort of, the two things I'm wrestling with are if we convene as an entire commission, there is a requirement for, like, example, this meeting would need to be broadcast, etc. And so I am not as sure on just like the parameters of the meeting style. I agree with Dr. Ross that we shouldn't take public comment after, this month,
right,
next month. I agree with that. I just had questions around like if the commission needed to still meet monthly, in sort of the formal way that the executive order lays out.
Well,
got
I
it.
think we should, and I think that those meetings should be recorded, and I think that, in compliance with the Sunshine Law, we need to post that the commission is meeting, but they're not going to be open but they will be strictly for the sake of drafting the report.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that's clarifying.
Got it.
So, should we propose to the full commission that since, March is sort of when the commission was originally supposed to wrap, that this month be the last month for public testimony, so then that way April through, we're just sort of focused in on not taking public comment after this month and focusing on the sort of story collection work of the community engagement group and the report drafting work of the report working group.
Well, I say we can maintain our initial focus of having those 3 months prior to releasing the report. And so, so if we're going to release a report in September. That means that we need July, August, maybe even June, July, August, then full report. And so we theoretically could continue to have open meetings. We theoretically could. I'm just saying that we have to recognize how much different. It's already March. We can't even assume that we're going to get all the writers to consent. This may take a little longer than we think. And so I think that we need to give ourselves a little bit more time to do the work and drafting, and rather than getting the people together to draft a report. We need more time for that. And so I'm recommending that, this is my personal recommendation, that we consider stopping at May, or we at most go to April with the public reports, public meetings. But I think we have to debate that with the full commission.
Yeah, no, I hear that proposal though. Delisha or William, did you have thoughts about that?
I'm fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, William.
Are you fine? I'm fine with that. I don't see the meaning of continuously gathering public comment if it's not going to be, I guess, included or have a purpose in the written report if we already have majority of the comments that will be considered for the report through all of the previous meetings that we have. So I get Dr. Ross's point.
I wonder if we could instead, because we'll have questions throughout the process, even as we're working on the report, but if there would be a way for the public to submit questions that they may have as we go, but not so much in the meeting where it's public comment. So we do have an email address. Perhaps if they have questions where we can still just address a couple of things that way, and then not have to have the section of the meeting be the public comment part, if that makes sense. But I do think we need the time to focus on the actual report with these next 6 months.
Okay, so yeah, so we haven't really landed we need the fuller, we need quorum to sort of make that decision, but proposal being perhaps May is the like March may feel too soon, so we give public notice that the May meeting is the last opportunity for public comment that will inform the report. And I think that is, that is fair, to give us time, because what we are really trying to do is to integrate personal anecdotes and to take time to actually, the people that Dr. Ross mentioned are tasked with sort of the history. The full commission is tasked with the recommendations, for each section. And so we want to be hearing, from the public, perhaps through May, on specific recommendations that are aligned with, I think we have buy-in from those who attended in January around the topics that we're covering. And so we'll need to start to think about recommendations, as a part of the public comment is helping to inform how the commission will draft its recommendations. So yes, I think we should propose May to the fuller commission and see where we land, and think about June, July, and August as really draft and, not just draft, because the drafting will start before June, July, and August, but this sort of assembling and editing and recommending to put together a finished product for the city. Does that sound like a good recap of what we talked about?
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I just have one recommendation. I guess, do we think it's valuable to add some sort of, I don't know, like disclaimer, like for that last meeting? I guess if we were to decide, through the fuller group, but like on the flyer or whatever, like, last opportunity for public comment. Just, I guess, just so going forward, like everyone knows, like this is pretty much it. Like, get what you need to say for this meeting. I guess, just suggestion.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think we can put that on sort of, if we approve May as the end time for public comment, then we can put that on the graphic for March and April and May.
Got it.
That comment will, end in May, just so people can plan out their schedules accordingly. And Delisha sent over a proposal around the schedule. I think we'll have to do that dance via email with the full commission, just to get us landed inside of the next 6 months.
Okay.
Any other business that we needed to talk through today?
No, I think that's a lot.
I think we did cover a lot, yeah. I think we covered a lot. Well, kudos to the working groups, like great job so far on getting that done, and hear the community engagement group on sort of like how we record that. That does take us back to a lingering standing question, is like resources for the commission, because we've also had that question inside of our working group around some sort of contribution or like how do we sort of honor folks' time that they'll be spending on writing the report. And I think we are certainly a volunteer commission, but not every hand that will touch the project is able to be that. And so I think we still have some lingering questions about budget that we need to figure out with the city.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay, y'all. Well, if that's all, this was a very informal and quick meeting, but just as a heads up to those watching, again, our location is TBD. We're hoping to land that by the end of the week, but the confirmed date of the next in-person meeting for the Reparations Commission is March 25th at 6 p.m. And we'll be putting location up on the city's website as soon as possible when we secure that.
Great. See y'all later.
See you all
All right.
later. Good
See ya.
evening.
Bye.
Night.